here at the Westport Center for Senior Activities. I am also a registered dietitian, and I've been cooking since ever I can remember. So baking is my favorite thing. Christmas holiday time is my favorite time because I love to make cookies. It's probably my #1 favorite thing. I just mailed 7 boxes of cookies with 7 flavors each out to my family on Saturday. So I'm happy to be here today. And at first I want to introduce you to our dietetic intern, Elizabeth Glass. Elizabeth is with us through the University of New Haven. She comes for 2 weeks. This is part of her community nutrition rotation. And she is, when she finishes up in June, she will be ready to she'll have all her practical hours to sit for the registered dietitian exam. Part of her requirement is to do some nutrition education. So I'm going to put a little plug in this Thursday. Elizabeth, what time is your lecture?
It's at 1:30.
1:30, and the topic is digestive health and aging. So she will be giving a lecture on that. I hope you can join her. And if you have any kind of nutrition or food science questions between Elizabeth and I, we'll try and answer them today. So I chose this recipe. This is a Martha Stewart recipe. Most of you know that she used to live in Westport. And I saw her last year, I think, but she was visiting. But anyway, Martha has this all-in-one cookie dough. And that recipe was sent out when you got your invitation. If you need it again, just let Jason know and he'll send you another copy. This dough is a basic dough, and you make it in 10 minutes. And then you can make 5 different types of cookies with it. You can freeze it for up to 3 months and just pull it out when you need it. Or you can leave it in the fridge for, they say 3 weeks. Doesn't last that long in my house. But so I'm going to show you how to make it, and then the dough. Then I'll show you some of the ways that we take that dough and make it into different cookies. Some of them are more complicated methods than others. Some of them are very simple. So I'm going to give you we're going to do 5 different cookies. One type we're going to do is called slice and bake. And that's where we make a roll. I'm going to show you how to do that. And we just put this log in the fridge. And when you want it, just slice them and bake them. We're going to make basic, well, I'm not going to show you today, but it will make basic cutout cookies. So that's the ones that you roll, and then we cut them out in shapes. We're going to do jam stripes. Those are my husband's new favorite. They're a little more complicated. They take a lot more steps, and they're delicious. Thumbprints, and then I'm going to show you how this dough can be used as a molded cookie. So first we're going to do is make the dough. So we have a cup of butter. It's all butter. And I pulled this butter out of the fridge at 12:30 and just let it set at room temperature. It's really important that the butter is soft. If you have to, you can do like 10 seconds in a microwave. If you leave it too long, it gets liquidy and then you can't use it. So that's a little tricky. So the best thing to do is give it about 2 hours to sit out at room temperature to get nice and soft. And so we're going to start mixing that. And then the process is called creaming. And we need 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So when I measure, way back when I took home economics, you want a flat blade. Does everybody sort of see that this is a flat blade? And we put the measuring cup in, and then we just make sure it goes flat across, and that is a 1/2 cup. In baking, we do have to be exact, because if we're not exact, it will change the texture of the cookie. So baking, they always say, is a science. You know, cooking is very creative, but baking, we have to stick to the exact measurements. So now I to put a 1/2 cup in, I'm going to put another 1/4 cup in. So this process is called creaming. And what we want to do here is get some air into the butter. So this can be done by hand, but again, by hand, you won't incorporate the air as much. Your cookies will be a little more dense. Same for making cakes as well. And the recipe asks for 2 large egg yolks, which I have in the fridge. So hold on.
We were thinking about filming in the kitchen, but it gets very loud in there.
It gets really loud with the fan. So I got, 2 egg whites, 2 egg yolks. I took the whites out. Egg yolk is where all the fat is. So this is gonna make your cookies tender. So we'll add the 2. And the good thing about this recipe is that with the yolks do not go to waste, because you can, if we make thumbprint cookies, I don't know if you guys can hear me over the mixer, but I'll just do it over the mix.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, Holly.
Okay, so the egg whites can be used to dip. I'll show you when we make the thumbprints, to dip the thumbprints in so that the nuts actually cling to it. Or you can make meringue cookies out of them, because you end up with 2 egg whites per recipe. And you can make meringue cookies, which are a no-fat cookie. They're a fat-free cookie. They have a lot of sugar in them, but they're fat-free.
Virginia,
Okay, so
did you
this
have a
is-
question?
Someone have a question?
Is there a reason why we can't see?
Yeah, because I don't have a mirror, but I can show you what it looks
I
like.
don't see it.
She's gonna do a close-up, Holly.
I will. Hold on. Let me. Okay, so
There you go.
that's what. So it's just
Just let you know, we don't see her. At least.
yeah. So that's creamed. Put the bowl back in.
Jason,
Now
I
it's
have a question.
asking for 1 teaspoon of vanilla.
Murray had a question.
What?
I have a
What?
question. Can you overmix?
Not until you put the flour in.
Because I made cookies the other day and they came out flat. Is that from overmixing?
Yes, you may have. Well, would that be overmixing? I would say yes. That's overmixing.
And it called for margarine, which I don't use anymore. So could the butter make it flat?
Yeah. So there you go. Elizabeth, you want to talk about margarine and butter?
So actually, usually what happens is the reverse. Margarine tends to have more water in it, so it will make the cookies flatten out. So it called for butter and you used margarine?
The other way. Murray?
It called for margarine and I used butter because I don't use margarine anymore.
Huh. That's usually it's the other way around.
Oh, okay.
What kind of cookie was it?
It's supposed to be a nut ball, but they came out flat. They're
Mhm.
really good, so it doesn't
Oh.
matter.
Did you chill the dough?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You have
Oh.
to chill the dough
You have
with
to chill the
that.
dough.
I guess I forgot about that.
So they
Yeah,
the butter melts too fast.
Mhm.
Oh,
You have to
okay.
chill the dough with shaped cookies like that for
Oh,
like
I
half an
forgot.
hour.
It probably says it on the recipe. I probably just didn't read it.
So now I'm just going to add 2 1/4 cups of flour. But the answer to your question is that once you add the flour to any baking product, you don't want to mix it too much unless you're making like a bread. But if you're making a cake or a pie, you don't want to overdevelop the gluten, which is the protein in the flour, and then the things can get tough. In bread, you want to develop the gluten. That's why you do the kneading. But in cookies and muffins and quick breads, you want to mix it when you mix the flour in just enough to get it wet and make a dough. So we'll just mix that up. And that's it for making the dough. Really simple. With the mixer, it's very easy.
Judy had a question, Holly.
I just want Holly to know that she did say refrigerate for 1 hour. That was
Yes.
in the directions, Holly.
Yes. Well, no, I can't use this dough to show you how to do anything because it has to be refrigerated. That's correct.
Go ahead, Judy.
Do you ever use a food processor for the creaming?
No, I do
Why?
not. Because this particular paddle or a beater is going to get the air into it, and doing a food processor, it doesn't do that. that
Great.
blade isn't gonna get the air into the batter.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yep. So. So I'm gonna stir it a little bit.
Jason,
Yes, Ann.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
It has to do with just general nutrition. I'm always confused about the protein and the glutens that you get from flour. Because we supposedly want protein. What is the difference between the protein gluten that one gets from flour versus protein such as meat or chicken or?
Well, that would be, maybe Elizabeth can help you with that. Elizabeth, do you know the answer to that question?
Well, the protein content, the gluten is smaller than you would get in like meat products. It's really a negligible amount, but it is what causes the allergy and celiacs. So there's still an amount. I mean, that's why you can have pasta and it still has some protein in it.
But people eat meat in there can't have, and they say that they can't have the protein in flour. You know, they have to be gluten-free flour. So I see that as a confusion.
So protein is what causes an allergic reaction. So if somebody can't have gluten, then they're allergic to the protein that's in flour. Like I'm allergic to peanuts, I'm allergic to the protein that's in peanuts. So protein is what causes an allergic immune response in your body.
So the protein is specific to that product or
Yes.
that item. It's
Yes.
not protein that we think of the general building blocks, the amino acids of protein.
Yes, proteins. So proteins can have all different amino acids that make them up.
Mhm.
It's just how they cause an immune response in your body.
Okay, thanks.
Good example of that is milk. I always give the milk example. People can have lactose intolerance and can't drink
Mhm.
milk. They can also be allergic to the protein in milk, which is casein. So allergies are because your body thinks that protein is a foreign substance, and
Mhm.
so it has an attack response.
Mhm.
So that's what an allergy is, and gluten is in most wheat flour.
Mhm.
So this looks very crumbly right now, but that's okay because I'm just gonna put it on. I like wax paper. You can do parchment paper. You can do, cling wrap. But what I will do is I'll just press it together. And you couldn't, you can see that it's crumbly. You guys see that? It kind of
Mhm.
crumbles.
Yep, that looks good.
So that's because after I refrigerate it, then you can work with it. So that's the one trick where they says you do have to refrigerate it. Now, if you want to, you can add lemon zest, orange zest, lime zest. You can add spices to it. You can't add lime juice because that's adding more liquid to it.
Mhm.
But the rind actually has the flavor, has the oils in it. You can also buy oils. They sell them at, I think Balducci's has the oils. You can get in the catalogs that Jason put on the chat room, that Fancy Flowers, I think William Sonoma probably sells them. You can get lemon oil, lime oil. It's very expensive. But if you want to flavor a cookie, that you get a lot of flavor from that, and you're not adding liquid and changing the texture of the dough. So after it's been chilled, it'll look like this. So I made this earlier today. This has been refrigerating. So, all right. So let's see, where am I at? Next. So, all right. I guess I'm going to make the jam stripes first. Let me washing my hands here.
This is Paul's favorite, Holly?
This is Paul's new favorite, my husband's new favorite cookie.
Paul's got good taste, so.
They're not that hard to make, but they're time consuming. So let me just show you what they look like. Everybody kind of see that?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a cookie strip, and then there's raspberry jam. You can do apricot, you could do peach. You can do any kind of jam you want with them. So let's see, let me go get in there in the fridge.
Jason, you can't make her bigger?
Yeah, the problem is the audio and video. Either we can't hear her or we can't see her. It's one or the other.
What do I need to do? Do I need to adjust?
If you can, yeah, so if you want to go to speaker view, Marie, you can see her better on that. Try that.
So I don't know, can you all see, this is a tray that has 3 strips of dough on it?
Yep.
Okay, so I rolled this out into, I actually ended up with a 9-inch square. So I have 3 3-inch strips of dough, and then you refrigerate it. And then hopefully this is not gonna break up while I do this, but we'll give it a try. Gonna take my knife, which is here. So we're gonna take our knife and some jam, not a lot. You just need to spread it. We're gonna spread it real thin on the bottom layer. As I said, apricot would work, peach would work. Okay, then let's see if I can do this. This is what we call a bench knife. It does it does a lot of things. If you're gonna be a baker, you kind of have to have it. It's a very handy tool. It's a blade, so it will cut straight lines. It has measurements, 6 inches, so I can measure things when I need to. It also goes underneath the dough to release it from the board when you're rolling out. And in this case, it's gonna help me lift this one onto here. Okay, then we're gonna put another layer of jam. Not a lot of jam, I don't know if you guys can see, but you know, it's about a half a teaspoon of jam. I might put a little more on, but you don't want it oozing with it. You're just kind of glazing it with the jam. That might be too much. Okay. Great. Then we have a third layer. So I'm just gonna attempt to lift that. Okay. So then I am going to, this is 9 inches, so 4.5. So I will cut it in half again. I'm gonna do one more layer of jam. So this isn't gonna make a whole lot of cookies. I'll cut them pretty thin when I get to baking them, but that gets done like that. And I'm just gonna take this whole thing, lift it back on.
Oh, wow.
And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna slice them. I have a bigger knife.
Can you do
Holly?
a close up real quick, Holly?
Yeah, can Holly lift it up so we can see what it is?
Okay. So
Oh,
it's a
it's
sandwich. It's a layered sandwich.
Right.
And now I
Okay,
have
I can see
1,
that.
2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 layers.
Okay.
Now, these are really cold. If they're not that cold, they should go back in the cooler and let them cool for a little bit before you slice them. But this is so cold, I'm gonna try and slice them now. This may be too cold, but let's see. There we go. Okay,
You're using a bread knife to cut.
I'm using a serrated knife, and there you go, that's a cookie. So that's it. And I'll just slice them up. And so, all right. So you would think with this dough, since it's all the same dough, they would all taste the same, but adding the raspberry jam gives this one a different texture. I kind of push it back together sometimes. Right. They're pretty forgiving. I'll push that one back together and it'll glue up when it cooks. So they'll look homemade. That's a good one.
Do all stores sell wax paper still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I dough and I'm gonna put it in the freezer, I use wax paper. And then I put it in a a Ziploc sandwich bag.
Okay.
So this is actually a half a recipe of dough that I started with. So then we'll count how many cookies we end up with.
Let's get this.
Jason's moving this. Is this better?
Oh, that's better.
Better. Yeah.
So my poor husband, I make all these cookies for people and then he doesn't really get any. So he always asks me, are there any rejects? Because he knows he can only here for him. But he's happy to have rejects. So see, they kind of broke apart, but we'll push this one back together and see what we get. Okay. All right. So there's your jam stripe cookies.
Nice.
All right. So that's that. So that's really the most difficult of the cookies that Martha has from this dough.
That wasn't that hard, Holly.
Oh, we have to roll it thin. That's all.
Yeah.
After not too bad. Then your other option is you can take the dough right when it's warm, right after you make it, and you make it into a log. So see, this is kind of a short log because I cooked some of them for you already. I rolled them in holiday sprinkles. You can also roll them in nuts if you want, just sugar, the what they call sanding sugar, which is the white sugar that's very crystallized, that you can get at baking stores. William Sonoma sells it. So this one's easy because all you do is do these, get 2 logs out of one recipe. I roll it up in cellophane or wax paper, put it in the freezer. You got people come in, you want to make some cookies, it's just slice and bake. And so I'll just slice these. This dough's pretty soft, kind of works better that way. So you want to only refrigerate the dough. If you're just making it now, I'd refrigerate it, the log, for about 20 minutes, and then I'd make them. That's what the tray is. So can you guys see? You kind of just the stuff on the sides.
How much do they spread?
Not very much, because I'll show you. I have a finished product for you to show you.
Holly, you have like a knife or something standing up behind the tray
Right.
here, and it's in the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. Oh. So this little end piece here, my husband will take that because he gets the. All right, so that's that one. Now I'll show you some things on this one on my cookie tray. So you can go to the store and buy, you can use chocolate chips like you would have, the Nestle's chips like you'd make Toll House cookies. You can also buy Baker's chocolate, which is, it's usually, at Stop and Shop, it's always on the top shelf. It comes in a foam and you just melt it. You dip strawberries in it. You can dip cookies. So these are this is the slice and bake I just did. Now, if you can see that I dipped it in chocolate and then put some sprinkles on top.
Nice.
Here's with white chocolate on it. So this is the same cookie, but you can do a lot of different things with it. I also did, which is kind of fun, abstract for you artists out there. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I take a fork, you take the chocolate and when it's melted, I take a fork and I'll put a big piece of parchment paper or the wax paper and I'll put it out on the table, kind of group the cookies in the middle. So you give yourself some space and it's sort of like Jackson Pollock. You just kind of take your fork.
Exactly.
Holly, we had a question.
And then you make these cookies and they're kind of pretty and festive looking.
Yeah.
Holly, we had a question.
You
Yes.
could buy all that stuff at Michael's that you're talking about.
The chocolate.
Yeah, you could buy the chocolate, you could buy the sugar. It's
Yep.
the Wilton, they have a
Yeah, the
whole Wilton cake decorating section.
Chocolate stuff, but it's not really, I found out it's really fake chocolate.
Really?
It's not chocolate, it's all fake. But
Oh,
they're called meltables and you get them. I got these at Michael's, but
Yeah.
the one at Stop and Shop is the Baker's chocolate. It's similar to the bar that has been around forever that you make brownies with. That one actually is chocolate. So
There's one Ghirardelli sells one.
Ghirardelli too sells them. Yep.
Yeah. But all the sugars are at Michael's.
Yes, they do have a lot of sugars and they also have wrapping if you want to, give cookies as a gift. They have all that as well. So,
So the Michaels in Westport is much smaller than Wilton though.
Yes.
I don't know if they have that.
oh,
No, they have a Wilton section.
No,
Holly?
in Westport,
Yeah.
They have it.
so I have a lot of gadgets for cooking. Jason always laughs at me because I have more gadgets, but this one's really neat. I don't know, can you guys see this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is,
So what is, you push these things together and it opens it up. It's a big spring. So what you do is you open it up and then I'm going to put it in here and I grab some flour. So there's now flour inside the spring.
uh-huh,
And I take my hand, my flat hand. You can also just go like this, but I kind of do this.
Oh, okay.
So it flours the board without putting too much flour on because we don't want too much flour because it makes the cookies, the less you do, the better.
What is that called, Holly?
I don't know what that's called.
I've never seen it.
A
Where do you-
thingamajig.
I got it. My parents lived down the street, walking distance from King Arthur Flour Baking Store,
Oh,
Norwich,
okay.
Vermont. And that was bad for me because I would go, every time I went home, I'd go there. And so I got it there, but I have no idea
That's
what
a-
it's called. I've never
It's a-
seen it before either, actually. I've had it
I've
for a while.
never seen it.
So this cookie dough can also be molded. And Jason gave you some links if you want to buy molds. And I'll show you some of the molds. What I'm going to do here, this is an easy one. So again, the dough is refrigerated for about 20 minutes. You make a ball. So it's just a ball. And then you press it. You know, when you made peanut butter cookies growing up, I don't know if you all baked, but you take the fork and go this way and that way, and
Right.
this is the same thing, except that instead, I have these cookie stamps. So they're
Ah,
made of clay. All have it. This particular set has a different design, and all you do is just flatten it with the cookie stamp, and you guys see. So you get the design in there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And then I just sprinkle a little bit of sugar. What have I got here? I got blue sugar here. So I'll just take a little sprinkle of blue sugar on top. And then that's it. And you can do all kinds of different shapes. If you don't have a cookie mold, you can actually make your own out of a potato, believe it or not. So you can just carve in a design in your potato and then use that. Same idea is these molds. These have been around forever. They're considered to be Scandinavian, German. This is a pine cone that I do for Christmas time. This one is a rooster. It's kind of good for anything. These are about $30 a piece, this little square. If you want to get bigger ones, they go to $50 to $75 a piece.
wow.
Yeah, they're very expensive. They're actually original molds from, like these companies have done research, and these designs have been around for cookie baking for like 100 years. And they've actually used old designs and made them. They're not wood; they're made from a resin. This one's made in Switzerland and it's handmade. This is a replica. Made in the USA. So those can be purchased at the baking stores. And
The thing you're using is called a flour duster.
What's a
Oh,
flour?
so that-
Duster. It's $10 on Amazon.
they also have these kind of molds.
Yeah,
This one you would take and you take a little bit of oil, not a lot, and just brush it with your brush. And then you press the cookie dough into it. And then you go like that, hit it hard, and then you have it come off if you're lucky. So I can show you what this one looks like. I only made one of these. You see that?
yeah,
Yep.
see it.
Do that with them. The trick with this particular, all these molds, is you need to find a cookie recipe that doesn't have baking powder in it. So you notice this recipe didn't have any baking powder, because if you have baking powder, it makes it fluffy, and fluffy isn't going to give you a real defined
Yeah.
design. Okay, so that's why we want to use, recipes with these. There's also, I have a bigger one that is makes 9 squares this size, and that one you bake it's for shortbread, and you bake it in here. And actually, this is ceramic, so you could bake your dough in here too. So that's another option. How am I doing on time? Good. Okay. So what else? Thumbprints. So this particular, show you this tray again. So do you see the thumbprints? The ones with the jam?
Yeah.
So that's a traditional cookie. I'm sure some of you have made them at your house. Where am
I made those today.
You made those today?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So all we do is we roll the dough in a circle, in a ball. Temperature's getting a little warm on this one, but anyway, we roll it in a ball. And then remember that egg white that you had left over from your recipe.
Right.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna just roll it in here, and then I'll roll it into some nuts. And then it goes on the cookie tray. And then we have to make a hole. So this is another one of my gadgets. I got this as a wedding gift, actually, or engagement gift. This is called a spurtle. Has anybody ever heard of a spurtle?
I want one so bad. I can't find one.
Has anybody ever heard of it?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
No, a spurtle, it is made of maple. It's Danish, comes from Denmark. This woman was Danish, and when I got engaged, she knew I liked to cook, and this is what she gives everybody that she knows. It's really just a stirring stick. So that's all they use it for, but it is handy, and for this particular application, so let me do this on here. So you just push in, and that's going to make a big hole.
Yeah.
The thing that works is the end of a wooden spoon would work.
That's what I use.
The thumb. Marie, what do you use?
I use either the spatula end or a wooden spoon end.
Spoon, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that, and then what we're
I've
going to do,
used a thimble. I've
A
used a thimble.
thimble will work, yeah.
Where's-
And then I'll just fill it with jam on the top, and then they get baked. So that's one of the easiest ones. So far, I said we're going to make 5 cookies from one dough, and we've made the jam stripes, the molded cookies, the thumbprints, and then the slice and bake. So, what I didn't do is, this dough's probably too warm now to do it, but you can roll it and cut it out. And I'm not exaggerating. I probably have over 200 cookie cutters.
Please,
Um,
she's not exaggerating.
Yeah,
The
I bet
reason
you are.
that my sister set me up on a blind date with my husband, and we got engaged. She wanted to do a shower for me, but I was 29 years old, and I already had everything for the kitchen. I had my own apartment. My husband had his own apartment, so it wasn't like we needed a toaster or any of that kind of stuff. So her idea was, I didn't have a KitchenAid mixer, so she sent on the invitation to the shower, feel free to bring a gift, or if you prefer, send me $15 and a cookie, your favorite cookie recipe. And she sent, those recipe cards that you get that go in a box. She
yeah.
sent everybody a blank card, said, bring your favorite cookie and bring a cookie cutter. So people, most everybody did it, brought me cookie cutters that had to do with their memory of me. So if it was a beach, if we spent a lot of time at the beach together, I got a shell, or it was very clever. So everybody did that. So that's how I started getting a lot. And then over the years, I just collected them, and people give them to me. And then somebody brought me this, which was kind of fun. This was an engagement gift. It's called The Joy of Cookies. So that's kind of a book. And what else? So anyway, we can roll cookies out. And so when you roll cookies out, what I did here, I actually made holly leaves for obvious reasons. Here's a holly leaf. And I just sprinkled some little tree things that I got at Michael's, sprinkles. But if you want to get really fancy, see if Martha Stewart does. There should be a picture in here. Let's see. Cheese. You can do what they call flooding. And flooding is where you make, here, okay. You guys can see. Can you see that picture?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you make a very thin icing. You actually make a dam. So you'll take a pastry bag and do a pipe around the edge of your cookie. That's called a dam. And then you put a very thin icing that's colored in it. So you can see that, so she did green, or her people did green.
Yeah.
And they let that cool, and then they come back and they put another layer on to do another color. So what people do now for weddings, and my sister-in-law, I don't know how much she spent per cookie, but there's people whose business is to make cookies for weddings that are just so elaborately decorated. I can't believe it. So you can do that as well, and you can get fancy. But this dough works to just roll it out, cut it out. The idea is to not roll it too many times. So I had this woman who lived across the street, and every year I have the neighborhood kids in, and I try and do a cookie day, and we make cookies. And she was so funny because she told her kids, they should smart kids, but she's like, okay, we only want to roll the dough once. So your job is to figure out how many cookies you can get so you don't waste any dough. And she says, now this is called spatial relations. And she's like, oh my God. It's a project. But anyway, that's that one. And I'll just go through some other gadgets that I use. So there's cookie cutters that come, they're called nesting cookie cutters. I don't know if you can see these guys. So they come huge. That's a huge one. Smaller. So this one actually, I might use that one. And then you put this one in, wait, here's my little one in the middle. And then you'd have a cookie. So you'd have, you have a sandwich cookie. Jason's phone just, you guys can still see me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now,
So actually that's another cookie you can, where you would roll them out, and one end, this particular cookie cutter set, okay. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's flat on one side, it's scalloped on this side. And what you do is you would cut it and you make two cookies. One
picture.
a hole to see the jam come through. So those are cool. Those are the jam. Another version of this dough works for that. This guy is another mold. So this one, I would just make a bigger cookie and then press it. And that's a gingerbread man.
hey, Holly,
Yes.
Holly, didn't we make cookies last year like that with using some of the molds?
I think we did.
Because some of those molds look very familiar.
Oh, now it's back. Yeah, that could be. This particular one,
Yeah, I remember that.
that one. This one I make an eggnog cookie, and I actually buy eggnog flavoring from King Arthur. And I put a lot of nutmeg in it, so it tastes like you're eating eggnog, and they look pretty. So, this is very handy when you're baking. Believe it or not, this is a chopstick, just your basic stick. What I do with that is, here's Rudolph. So this is a really, but trying to get the dough out of this little horn part can be difficult. So I'll just take my a chopstick or a toothpick will work, and I just push it out gently, because otherwise it'll come out with no horns. So that is handy. So for cookie making, these are great.
Yeah.
So that's a big, large size. That makes a large cookie. This one makes a small cookie. And that's for cookies like, chocolate chip. I made a cookie this year for my cookie box. It's orange chocolate, white chocolate cookie, and it's just a drop cookie. So that one you just go in, scoop it, and you get the advantage is you get a cookie that's the same size every time. So, and that means that they bake evenly because if they're the same size dough, they'll all bake at the same rate. So you get a better product from that. So that's something that's handy to have. That's like years.
Holly, we had a question. Go ahead, Lucette.
Yeah. What is that called?
Oh, these are cookie scoops.
Okay, thank you.
Get them at Bed Bath & Beyond has them. OXO makes them. You know OXO, the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like this summer, my nephew was getting married at Martha's Vineyard, and I was disinvited from the wedding. That was supposed to be a big wedding, and because of COVID, they couldn't do that. So that was fine. But I sent cookies for the rehearsal dinner. So I made 100 cookies, and they were all a version of chocolate chip, actually. Except for I make a chocolate cookie called Guinness chocolate chip. You take a whole bottle of Guinness, you boil it down, and laugh. You laugh. Do you know, I got so many compliments after the wedding. They said they all the Guinness chocolate chip cookie. It has bitterness, but Guinness and chocolate together is very good. We had a cooking class here a couple of years ago. Mia made a chocolate Guinness orange cake that was delicious. So what you do is a whole bottle of Guinness, you boil it down until it gets to be like a third of a cup, I think. So it gets to be like the thickness of molasses. And then you just put that into a cookie. It's sort of like making a Toll House. You cream the butter and the sugar, and then they get chocolate chips in them. But I made, so anyway, I made 100 cookies. You're gonna make 100 cookies, you need to, you gotta have it. It's worth it. What else was I gonna tell you about cookies? So there's an article on Wednesday on the New York Times about holiday cookies and people making your cookie box. And I've been doing cookie boxes for forever. And it gets to be very expensive to ship them, but I just figure for my family who can't come home, they really appreciate it. So, but what you want to do when you do a cookie box is make sure that you have, not everything looks the same color. So you want to have it look like when you open it up, they all be different. So that's another reason why, like, I'll do this. I made that cookie, right? So it doesn't look like a cookie. It has some color to it. So they what their suggestion was, which I pretty much, in fact, I have my list. Where's my list? Back of an envelope. So right around mid-November, I go through my cookie books and decide what I'm going to make this year. Some of them, my family will be very disappointed if I don't make them, even though I'm really tired of them. But they'll be upset if I don't have them in there. So, so I make Linzer cookies, which is the one with the dough is actually made with ground almonds. It calls for a cup of cornstarch. So it comes from the Silver Palette cookbook. You never think, the first time I made them, I said, you put a cup of cornstarch in a recipe? That seemed really odd, but it's a shortbread, so it needs something to hold it together because it's just flour, butter, sugar, and it's confectioner sugar and cornstarch, and then the nuts. So, and then you fill them with usually raspberry jam. Sometimes I'll do apricot jam. For Easter, I tend to do apricot jam, more pastel color. So you want to have, and usually you want to have a spicy cookie. So this year I made hermit cookies. Does anybody raise your hand if you know what they are, hermit cookies?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen in a magazine.
Yeah, I've seen them in the magazine. I made Ina Garten's hermit cookies, and they were really good. So when I put those in the box this weekend, though, I did wrap them in cellophane.
Yeah, they're pungent.
I don't want it to freeze the rest of my box.
Yeah.
Package your cookies.
What?
How do you package them for shipping that they don't come all broke?
Oh, I have tins, and I put them in muffin cups, and there's a lot of cookies in there. so that they're packed tight together. Nobody complains about them getting broken, so, and they taste good.
I usually hand deliver them.
Yeah, well, I have to mail them. I mailed to Wisconsin, 2
Oh,
boxes to La Jolla, California. I've mailed a box to Idaho. Where else did I mail them to?
Wow.
Washington, D.C. I made, oh, then you want to have a chocolate cookie, something, again, you want to balance your flavors. So I made orange. This was a King Arthur recipe. Orange white chocolate drops. Or, and half the dough, I made the chocolate dough part, and then I added orange flavoring and white chocolate to one. Half, the other half, one of the options was to add dried cherries. My husband loves cherries and chocolate, so he liked those a lot. They were good. He got to try some of those. I made a cranberry shortbread that I cut into Christmas trees. So you want different shapes too. And then I made the eggnog pine cones. And that was it for my boxes this year. So that's it. Anybody have any other questions? Y'all can drive by tomorrow and get a little bag of cookies and try them out if you want. I'm sure they'll be Wednesday as well.
Holly, do you think they'll have a mask cutout cookie thing this year?
Yeah, right.
That'd be great.
You
Sue, do you want to say anything while we got everybody here?
gingerbread man or a gingerbread woman and put a little, with white, take the pastry bag and make a white mask. That'd be cute.
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
I'm inspired now to try to get back into the kitchen. Usually when I'm in the kitchen, it's a disaster.
Ah,
I learned that I would not be good because it's all about measurements. So
It is.
I like that.
measuring, and you have to be precise. And I do not sift. I do not, for cookies, I don't sift. For cakes, I'll always sift, but for cookies, I don't bother. Doesn't seem to matter.
Holly, I can pass on one thing when excuse me, I'm swallowing my saliva. If you want your butter to soften up and you haven't left it out, you know the trick about cutting it into slices and putting it on a metal tray?
No.
It draws the cold out.
That's what professional bakers do. If, you can't necessarily take it out soon enough.
Right.
So if you take your butter and put it into slices, squares, lay it out, at angles. I don't know if you can see angles so that the air gets to it.
Yeah.
It'll be room temperature within 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, there you go. I learned something new. Thank you, Ann.
Sure.
Anybody else have any baking tips they want to share?
I want to show you.
Well, they talk about spooning, when they talk about taking your flour out of the bag, they say just sort of tilt it or something. That's what I never did understand. So you don't get too much flour.
Well, I do the method, and as I said, I was actually Westport Schools. That's where I learned to first bake, is to use the straight edge.
Right.
You actually hit the cup so it all settles in first, and then scrape it off. And that's how you get an exact measurement. Really, truly, pastry chefs have a scale and their recipes are in grams.
Right.
So, and actually I asked Santa to bring me a scale, so.
This is the flour duster that she was talking about.
Oh,
$10.
oh, look at that.
I'll be darned. I have to show Holly my nesting.
Oh,
This is Tupperware.
it's Tupperware.
Yeah, look. See, so there's one here.
Oh, yeah.
There's one here.
Wow.
There's scallops.
Oh, my gosh.
There's
Those are your,
hearts.
oh, wow.
Stars.
A lot less space taken up.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Very
What
common.
year did you buy that?
Probably 50 years ago.
When I went to college, which was many years ago, I worked the weekends in a Fairfield County Tupperware distribution center, and I've never seen that. So I think you are dating
Oh,
yourself.
wow.
Was the man's name Larry?
Yes, it was Larry and his wife Marge DePippa.
My sister worked for that company and she met her husband because he was a delivery guy.
Oh, I probably know both of them. They were in Darien. They lived in
Yeah.
Westport.
Yeah. A
Small
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 world.
world.
Small
Yeah.
baking world.
The
All
other
right.
thing, just one other thing, Holly,
Yes.
you inspired me. There are rolling pins. Do you have the
Hmm.
rolling pins
Oh,
with
I'm
the
sorry. Showed
emboss-
you.
You probably with the embossing on them? Because I went online and I found this place in Poland that you can get embossed rolling pins.
That's called Springula. And those are-
Yeah,
But I didn't show you my rolling pin, guys. This is,
Wow.
so this one is all silicone, very heavy, would be a good weapon if someone was to attack you. But it's also on ball bearings. So one year I asked Santa for the Rolls Royce of rolling pins, and Santa brought me this. So
Wow.
this is Rolls Royce. But
Now-
when we got it, it was brand new. It was $65. Now I think you can get them much cheaper because everybody copied them. But this
Yeah.
is but you want to dust your rolling pin very lightly when you're rolling. My grandmother used to had a sock that she put over the rolling pin. She would, and then she would dust it. And that's how she kept the cookies from stick. But my grandmother didn't make cookies that much. She made Stollen. She was German, so that was a big excitement. She
Yeah.
made or stolen. I don't know. My grandmother would say Stollen. I don't know if that's right. Do you have any Germans? Anybody German out there that knows?
I say stolen.
Stolen?
I don't know.
Don't know. But,
Great job, Holly.
thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank you.
And
Thank
please
you.
come by tomorrow or Wednesday, pick up your free cookie bag.
Now you had to bring all this,
Thank
Well-
Holly,
you.
you brought all this from home?
A lot of it, yes.
Wow, now you got to bring it all back.
Now I gotta bring it all back. I'm
We'll
used to-
help her. We'll help
Okay.
her. So I recorded this. I'll send the link to everyone who was on the call, and just in case you missed something.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
And
bye.
Sue, do you want to hold up real quick before everybody leaves? You want to talk about tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, did people get what I call a robocall this morning? I
Yes.
hope you
two,
did.
two.
If you didn't get it, that means that you're not registered with us. So please give us a call and we will get you into our My Senior Center program. But what we did was we put out a robocall tomorrow morning at 2:30. We're doing a emergency preparedness webinar seminar with someone from Homeland Security, the Westport Western Health District, and also our deputy fire chief. And both of those individuals are going to talk about ways you can be safe at home for up to or at least 72 hours in the event of an emergency. So we have storm season coming, and we have, maybe the threat of ice and snow and no power. So they're going to just go over some safety tips, which will also include safe ways to stay warm. And I know this year the fire chief is particularly worried and concerned about the importance of everyone using their generators safe, because whenever there is an emergency, besides the fact of the emergency, whether that be tree limbs down and so forth, the second most popular call of incidents is because of generators. So if you have a generator, you might want to jump on just to make sure that yours is up and running safely. That's tomorrow via Zoom at 2:30. And if anyone is interested in the Zoom ID and password, please give us a call at 203-341-5099, and we will share that information with you. And again, that's tomorrow, 2:30 to 3:30.
I
Thank you,
can,
Jason.
you know what? I'll send out the link when I send the recording out. Sue.
Perfect.
And we're also open for registration for out-of-towners starting today. So if you want to register for class, and Westport's already been able to register for a week, but feel free to call us.
Okay.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for coming.
Holly. Thank
Bye.
you.
Holly.